Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. First things first, if you wouldn't mind giving me a like and a subscribe, I do genuinely really appreciate each and every one of you. And whilst you're there, let me know in the comment section how you are doing out of 10. For me this week, I was so ready to be a 9.5 or 10 out of 10, but it has been a bit of a mixed bag. So I'm going to say I'm like an 8 out of 10 one way or another. For those of you who don't know, we have been TB testing this week. I mentioned it last week and I said I'd let you know how we were getting on because this video isn't about TB testing. But we are currently under restrictions and we have to do 2 consecutive tests 6 days apart before those restrictions can be lifted. This is our first test this week. And the highs and lows are kind of all lumped in this week because we did pass, which is great news. But we also had an IR, which for those of you who don't know is an inconclusive reactor, where it's neither a positive or a negative. What has to happen with that is it has to be tested again in 60 days time, which we will be doing a test for the whole herd in 6 days time anyway. So it kind of doesn't really matter as long as it's not an IR again. If it tests as an IR again, then it's kind of classed as a reactor and we stay under restriction. But if it's not, then the restrictions will be lifted. So fingers crossed, it all goes well in 6 days. But for now, it's just a bit of a sigh of relief that we can finally get some cows out to Thornton and relieve a bit of the pressure on the grass at home. So as I mentioned, this video isn't about TB testing. We're actually mixing up and drilling some arable silage, which we're using as part of a rotation to reseed a grass field, some permanent pasture that is really unproductive on the farm. So go grab yourself an espresso, which is what my brother was making for me last night. Those things get you a bit wired, don't they? My God. And yeah, I hope you enjoy it. So to mix up our arable silage, I'm going to use the Emily bucket. Now, that's mainly because that's what we had it for. We had it for mixing up things, mainly for cereal rations and whatever else, but why not give it a go for this as well? Should work fine. We're going to drill a 3-way mixture of arable silage at the minute. We're kind of doing 2 different things, a little bit of an experiment what we're doing. So I've got a grass field that we're reseeding, but I'm not going to reseed it until next year. I'm not just going to put grass in it. I want to give it a bit of a rest so it doesn't get any problems from frit fly and that kind of thing. Just give that ground a bit of a rest. We're going to put the arable silage in on there, harvest that out, and then later on, sort of July time, whatever, once we've harvested it, we'll put it in with like a kale or a stubble turnip or something like that to then graze towards the winter. That is going to go in with a 3-way mixture of spring barley, spring oats, and forage peas. And it's going to be like 40% forage peas, 40% spring barley, and then 20% oats. And we're going to put that on that field, and we're also going to put it on another field that we plan to then plant a clover lay in later on. The other thing that we're going to do is I'm going to do another mixture, which is going to be 40% peas and 60% barley with no oats. And then we're going to drill that at a 3rd rate and undersow a herbal lay, and in another field a clover lay. And I'm going to just do it, and just as an experiment, just to see if we can try and get like a bit more forage off these pieces of ground, because obviously normally if we drill a herbal lay or a forage lay and just drill it straight, we wouldn't really get anything off of it for a good while until later on in the year. Whereas if we can try and put the arable silage in and then all of that underneath, hopefully we might get some sort of silage off it a little bit earlier, and then that ground is going to work a bit harder for us throughout the year, and we're just going to have a bit more of a benefit from it. That's the plan. I'm kind of taking this risk so that you guys don't have to. So you can watch this video and see how I get on, and you'll see how I get on throughout the year, because we'll keep you updated with it all. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the bucket out, I'm going to put it outside on its stand and get all the bits and pieces and start mixing. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. All of the mixture is now nicely put together. So if you can see just closely here, you'll see all of the barley, oats and peas mixed really evenly, which is perfect. Honestly, I love this bucket for stuff like this. This bucket is awesome. I go on about it all the time on Instagram. I adore this bucket. One of the best things I've ever bought. And I can fill the drill up with it because it just comes out the side. So happy days, I'll go and fill up the drill. I don't have to do any shoveling or whatever else. Because these peas in here are actually a legume, which means we don't have to put any nitrogen on this as well, because they should, in theory, fix enough nitrogen to feed the oats and the barley. And because we're not trying to take it through dry either, we don't need to worry too much about whether it goes milky or whatever else. So I'm hoping that this will work really well. Kind of pinning a lot of hopes on this, providing us with quite a nice bit of forage for next winter. We are going to Claydon drill this straight in. We're going to direct drill it because at the moment it's so dry out there that I'm just kind of hoping that will help hit a bit of moisture. We've not worked any of the ground that's going in because like I said, this is going in on the 10 acres of grass that I'm going to reseed, and also in on 13 acres that are part of the arable rotation that we're going to put down to a clover lay later on. So I'm kind of pinning the hopes that the Claydon and this stuff together hit a bit of moisture, and this should then hopefully rock it off and we'll be, hopefully okay. Hopefully. Said that a lot, didn't I? And this is the field that we want to reseed. As you can see, it's looking pretty brown. What we did is we grazed this super hard with the cows, got it down to practically nothing, and then came in here afterwards and just sprayed it off with some glyphosate just to kill it all off. These fields really need to be a bit more productive for us. The ones where you can't see it, but there's some cows there on the other side of the brook. We reseeded that field a few years ago now, and that's really productive and it grows really well, responds well to fertilizers, responds well to manures. This kind of field though just doesn't. I don't think this field's ever been reseeded. Not in my lifetime. I don't think Dad's ever known it in his lifetime either. So a lot of these grasses in here are probably what you would call weed grasses. So they just don't respond to nitrogen, they don't really do anything, they don't grow very fast, they just kind of smother out all the good stuff and don't really help us out. With land getting like more expensive and more difficult to get hold of and harder for us to rent and whatever else around here, I think we need to just make each and every field a lot more productive, and we're going to start this one because this is probably the least productive grass field on the farm. So I'm hoping we'll go in here, we'll get all this drilled with our arable silage, and in not too long it'll go from brown to a nice shade of green. So let's crack on. And that is it for another video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and a subscribe. I do genuinely appreciate every single one of you who do so. And we are just on the way headfirst into a bank holiday weekend, so make sure you get outside. I think the weather's going to be pretty decent, not too hot, not too cold, not too wet, so get outside, enjoy the great British countryside. You've got a whole extra day to do it in. At the minute it just seems to be bank holidays galore, so have a great one and I'll see you all next week. Bye.